They called it Operation Detachment. 8 square miles of volcanic rock in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Military planners said 5 days maximum. It took 36. And when the guns finally fell silent, Iwo Jima had earned a terrible distinction. The only Pacific battle where American casualties exceeded Japanese casualties. 26,000 Americans killed or wounded. 27 Medals of Honor awarded. More than any battle in United States history. But the numbers only tell part of the story. What really happened on Iwo Jima reveals something profound about human courage, tactical genius, and the brutal calculus of total war. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we're going deep into the story your history teacher never told you. Turn on notifications. We cover World War II's most critical battles every week with the detail and respect they deserve. Now let's talk about why this tiny island became the deadliest piece of real estate in military history. February 1945. The war in the Pacific has turned decisively against Japan. American forces are island hopping toward the home islands. The 29 Superfortress bombers based in the Mariana Islands are conducting devastating raids on Japanese cities. But there's a critical problem. The round trip from the Marianas to Tokyo is over 3,000 miles. Damaged bombers can't make it home. Fighter escorts lack the range to provide protection. And sitting directly in the flight path is Iwo Jima, where Japanese radar gives Tokyo 2 hours warning before every raid. American planners looked at the map and saw an obvious solution. Capture Iwo Jima. Build emergency airfields for crippled bombers. Base fighter escorts there. Eliminate the early warning system. The strategic logic seemed flawless. What they didn't fully understand was that the Japanese had been preparing for this exact invasion for over a year. Lieutenant General Tadamaki Kurabayashi arrived on Iwo Jima in June 1944, knowing he was facing certain death. Unlike many Japanese commanders, Kurabayashi had lived in America, studied at American universities, understood American industrial capacity and military capabilities. He knew that traditional Japanese tactics, the glorious banzai charges and dying honorably on the beaches, were tactical suicide against American firepower. So he developed something revolutionary that would haunt the Marines for 36 days. Kurabayashi would turn Iwo Jima into a fortress, not above ground where American naval guns could destroy it, but underneath the island itself. His engineers began the most ambitious military construction project in the Pacific Theater. They carved 11 miles of tunnels through solid volcanic rock. They connected 1,500 defensive positions. They built bunkers with concrete walls 5 feet thick. They created artillery chambers deep enough to survive naval bombardment. They positioned machine gun nests with interlocking fields of fire covering every possible approach. And they stockpiled enough ammunition, food, and water to fight for months. Drop a comment telling us which Pacific War battle you want covered next. Your engagement directly shapes our content. Kurabayashi issued orders that shocked his own officers. No banzai charges, no wasteful counterattacks, no dying gloriously for the emperor. Instead, every man would kill 10 Americans before dying. They would make the enemy pay for every yard in blood. Defense in depth, mutual support, discipline. This wasn't fanaticism. This was calculated strategy designed to make the American victory so costly they might reconsider invading Japan itself. The American pre-invasion bombardment began 74 days before the assault. On the final 3 days before the invasion, battleships and cruisers fired over 22,000 shells at the tiny island. Carrier aircraft dropped hundreds of tons of bombs. Navy commanders reported that the island looked like it had been leveled. Nothing could have survived. They were catastrophically wrong. February 19, 1945. 900 hours. The first wave of Marines hits the beaches, and immediately they encounter something no one anticipated. The beaches aren't sand. They're volcanic ash, black and fine as powder, 15 feet deep in some places. Every step, boots sink 6 inches. Tracked vehicles bog down immediately. Marines try to dig foxholes, but the ash collapses back. Movement is exhausting. Advancing is nearly impossible. And for the first 15 minutes, there's almost no enemy fire. This was Kurabayashi's genius. Let them land. Let the beaches fill with men, equipment, vehicles. Then unleash hell. When the Japanese finally opened fire, it came from everywhere simultaneously. Machine guns from invisible pillboxes, mortars from Mount Suribachi, artillery from caves the bombardment never touched. The Marines were caught in pre-registered killing zones with nowhere to hide. The volcanic ash that made movement difficult now became a death trap. Wounded men sank into it. Some suffocated. The beach turned into absolute chaos. But Marines don't quit. Small unit leaders adapted. Combat engineers blasted paths forward. Flamethrower teams began neutralizing bunkers. Tanks that made it off the beach provided covering fire. Yard by yard, the Marines advanced. Every foot cost blood. Every yard cost lives. This was warfare reduced to its most primitive brutality. Mount Suribachi rose 550 feet at the island's southern tip. Honeycombed with Japanese positions, it dominated the invasion beaches. Taking it became the immediate priority. For 4 days, Marines assaulted slopes of loose volcanic ash at nearly vertical angles while taking fire from positions they couldn't see. They used flamethrowers, satchel charges, grenades. They cleared positions only to have Japanese troops emerge from tunnels behind them. Three-dimensional warfare in hell. February 23rd. Day 5. A patrol from Easy Company reaches Suribachi summit. They raise a small American flag. Hours later, a larger flag goes up. 6 Marines lift it. Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal captures the moment. That image becomes the most famous photograph in history. It appears on posters, stamps, memorials. It symbolizes American determination. But here's what most people never learn. When that flag went up, the battle was only 1/6 finished. 31 more days of brutal fighting remained. Comment Iwo Jima if you're still watching, and share this with someone who loves military history. The northern 2/3 of the island was where Kurabayashi had concentrated his strongest defenses. Rocky plateaus, deep ravines, elevated positions, and underneath, those 11 miles of tunnels. Japanese troops moved unseen, reinforcing threatened positions, emerging behind American lines. Traditional tactics failed. The Marines had to innovate. They developed what they called blowtorch and corkscrew tactics. Flamethrowers to burn out caves. Demolitions to collapse tunnels. Tank-mounted flamethrowers reaching positions infantry couldn't touch. They threw everything at defenses that refused to break. Progress was measured in yard per day. Some fortifications took days to reduce. The cost was staggering. 1 casualty for every 3 Marines who landed. 26,000 casualties in 36 days. Some rifle companies suffered 70% losses. The average Marine was 19 years old. Teenagers fighting in conditions that would destroy most adults. And they kept going. 27 Marines earned the Medal of Honor at Iwo Jima. 27. 14 posthumously. Corpsmen running into fire to save wounded. Officers leading impossible assaults. Privates throwing themselves on grenades. Not random acts of courage, but conscious decisions to sacrifice everything for the men beside them. Of 21,000 Japanese defenders, only 216 surrendered. Kurabayashi had ordered them to kill 10 Americans each before dying. Many succeeded. They fought with disciplined ferocity from positions designed for mutual support. This wasn't fanaticism. It was professional military defense executed perfectly. March 26th. Organized resistance ends. The island is secured. But Japanese holdouts fight from caves for weeks. Some hide for years. So is it worth it? 6,821 Americans killed. 19,217 wounded. For 8 square miles of rock. But here's the answer. During the remaining war, 2400 B, 29 bombers made emergency landings on Iwo Jima. Approximately 27,000 aircrew saved. Without those airfields, those men die in the ocean. But Iwo Jima's impact went deeper. It taught American planners what invading Japan would cost. If a tiny island defended by 21,000 Japanese caused 26,000 American casualties, what would the home islands cost? Estimates for Operation Downfall exceeded 1 million American casualties. Iwo Jima's mathematics influenced the decision to use atomic weapons. If this changed how you see World War II, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and comment which aspect of Iwo Jima you want to explore deeper. The Medal of Honor stories? Japanese defensive tactics? The strategic impact? Your feedback shapes what we create next. Thank you for watching.